Okay, so let's talk about what happened at work today. I was helping hands, so that means that I was not assigned any patients. I was helping out the CNAs, the nurses, just kind of helping out on the floor. My house supervisor came to see me and he asked if it was okay for me to go sit with a patient in the emergency department. He was a 5150, so that means that he can't leave the hospital, and he was brought in by the cops. So they wanted me to go break the security that was sitting with the patient. Okay, so I get there, and the cop's in the room trying to get the patient to cooperate. And he's not really cooperating, but he's not being aggressive, but he's not cooperating. He looks at the cop, and I'm standing, so I'm standing face to face to the patient. So he looks at the cop, and he's like, "Can I borrow your gun?" And the cop's like, "No." He's like, "Please, just one shot." And the cop was like, "No." He was like, "I want to shoot that boy right there." Points at me. This is me standing at the door. Just so yeah, that's all. That's all that happened today. That was cool.
Wasn't one time when I was in nursing school, I had to put a catheter in a man and I couldn't find a Schwiener. It wasn't there. I looked quite in depth. I couldn't find it. He was asleep in the bed and his wife was reading a book in the corner, and I wasn't about to ask her where her husband's Schwiener was. So my best friend Nicole was also in school with me, so I went and got her, and I was like, surely between the two of us we can find it. But we didn't. So I had to go get my nursing instructor, Darlene Street, again and tell her that I couldn't find this man's Schwiener, and she said, "Paige, I promise it's there." And I was like, "I promise you it's not." Now, his scrot area was rather large. Probably like cantaloupe? Maybe bigger. Probably bigger. I don't know. I don't eat a lot of melons. Anyways, she walked in and she took her hands like this and she just pushed down and it just popped out. Just this little tiny, just popped right up. So I put the catheter in, and then I made something called a scrot sling. This is like a hammock that I made for between his legs, and then I took his, and I had to pick him up, and I put him on that so that they could drain, because they had a lot of fluid in him because he was sick.
A patient thought I was calling her gross the other night while I was in triage, and it was a quick reminder that we have to be so careful about the medical terminology we use in front of patients, because what may seem like normal words to us, descriptive words to us, could come across as rude and plain mean to them. This patient came into triage thinking that her water broke. She is in the wheelchair, put her in the room. When she stands up, there's a puddle of water where she was sitting. Her pants are wet. She's obviously ruptured. When someone is obviously ruptured, so meaning you look and you see and there's a puddle, obviously she ruptured, we nurses call it, doctors in this realm of birth call it grossly ruptured. So it means it's visible to the naked eye. She is grossly ruptured. So I'm calling the midwife while I'm putting her in the bed to put baby on the monitor, and I say, "Hey, I have patient X and we are 39 weeks. She is grossly ruptured. Where would you like me to put her so we can get her admitted?" It was at that point where I could see the patient made a face, but I still didn't connect the dots. So it wasn't until we moved her into the next room that she looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry that this is gross." And I said, "What's gross?" She said, my water being broken. You said it was grossly ruptured." And I could have just disappeared into the wall at that moment. I was mortified. I was embarrassed. I was so sad that she thought I was calling her gross. So then I had to backtrack and I was like, "No, I'm so sorry. Let me clearly explain to you. When I said that you're grossly ruptured, I meant like you had a lot of fluid. Like the amount was a gross amount, as in it's a large amount." I know that sounds crazy, but we say that when someone is obviously ruptured. It's not a small trickle where we have to do extra testing to see if your water broke. Like you're obviously broken. I was not calling you gross, and I'm so sorry that that's what you thought for the last 10-15 minutes. There's nothing gross about this. This is normal. But it was a good quick reminder of how we have to be careful about what we say and our words, because obviously what is normal to us, what is normal medical terminology, could be perceived in a different way to our patients. So that was a good learning lesson for me. I've been doing this for 7 years, and that was the first time that happened. As an ER nurse, these are the ER patients that scare me the absolute most. It's not the patients who elope. It's not the patient that is screaming in face. It's not the patients who combative. Nah. All right, so picture this. You in your patient's room. It's super quiet. You at your computer and you just charting away. All of a sudden you hear a noise. So you turn around and your patient has literally risen up from the dead. Mind you, sedated and intubated patient. Risen up from the dead. They looking at you, you looking at them. You look at the pump and they're at the max sedation rate. Those are the type of patients that scare me the most. Because how are you fighting that sedation? And then when you say something to them and they actually follow a command, that literally makes me want to shed my skin. And I understand conscious sedation and stuff, but it's scary when it happens. I don't know.
Okay, you all asked for it, so here we go. My name's Sydney. I worked as an ER nurse for about 10 years, and I have seen some crazy stuff, but this one in particular still keeps me up at night. Because I don't want to violate any HIPAA laws, I am not going to be naming any patients in this story, and I cannot give you the exact location, but I can tell you it happened in the Appalachian Mountains. So we got a call from EMS, and the original call was for an elderly lady with altered mental status. But then a call came in right after that, and it was for her son that had a severe arm injury. So that's a pretty normal call to get for like an older person not acting right. They can have UTIs, they could, sometimes dementia, things like that can make them act different. But the fact that she was coming in with her son and her son had a severe arm injury, we were all like, what's going on? So she came in first. They brought her in on the stretcher and she was in handcuffs. This like 80-something tiny little woman in handcuffs. So of course we were like, get her out of these handcuffs. Like she's gonna rip her skin. Like what is going on? And baby, as soon as those handcuffs came off, I understood why they put them on her. This frail 80-year-old woman had the strength of like a grown 40-year-old man. It took multiple nurses, multiple security officers, and paramedics to just hold her down on the stretcher. She was also contorting her body in ways that I never thought possible. Just like her spine, like coming up off the stretcher, her legs up by her head, like it was weird. She was thrashing all over the bed, biting, spitting, kicking. The scariest part is her voice was not like a normal, like 80-year-old woman voice. It was this deep, guttural, like voice. At one point she looks over at me and she goes, "Get this brute out of me." And as we're dealing with this, her son comes in behind her and his arm has a massive chunk bitten out of it. And I'm not trying to get too gory on you guys, but like I'm talking tendons, ligaments hanging out of his arm. So we got more information from the son and he was like, yeah, that's my mom. She lives with me, but this is not my mom. Like she is normally a sweet little lady. And then she just came in my room in the middle of the night, bit down on my arm and ripped a huge chunk out of it and just continued to attack me. And he's like, I had no other option but to call the police. So we start doing all the things to get this lady to calm down so she wouldn't hurt us or hurt herself. I'm talking sedatives, IV injections, all the things. Nothing is touching her. We gave her enough medicine to put down like a horse and nothing touched it. We also ran all the tests that would cause her to act this way. Like we did a urine screen, we did like blood work, all the things. Everything came back completely normal. At one point, one of the nurses said, "We need some holy water." As soon as holy water was mentioned, this lady, like I told you, she was thrashing all over the place, stopped thrashing and just looks up and goes, "Don't you dare." All of us nurses just kind of looked at each other like, well, that was weird. We ended up admitting her to a room upstairs. I obviously did not see this because I stayed down in the ER, but it was later told that nothing they did helped her. She just continued to act completely insane until the son was like, I want an exorcism done on her. They had to call in a priest to the hospital to do the exorcism, and shortly after that, she went home. So, believe what you want, but the fact that this lady's tests results all came back clear and the only thing that ended up helping her was an exorcism. I mean, I know what I believe, and that's why I'm right with the Lord. But it's still just one of the wildest things that ever happened to me as a nurse. So now I'm interested, has anyone else ever had an encounter like this? If you have, leave it in the comments. And also, if you want more stories about some of the crazy things that I've seen as an ER nurse, I was also a psychiatric nurse for 3 years, then let me know.
If you think you about to make my coworkers feel uncomfortable doing their job, you got the wrong one. Y'all tap in for a quick story time right now. So I'm at work and I'm doing some documentation at the nursing station. My coworker just came out of her new patient's room in the ER and she looked like she just done seen a ghost. So, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, why you look like that? She's like, oh, I needed to start a Foley on the guy in the room, but he made me feel uncomfortable about it. And he was like, you need to smile if you're going to do a Foley on me. It's a privilege. I said, oh? What? Huh? I said, don't worry. If you can't smile, I definitely can. I said, don't even worry about it. I went into the supply closet, grabbed me a new Foley tray, and went in the room. Big ass smile on my face. I'm walking in the room with the Foley tray, knock, knock, open up the curtains. I'm like, hey, sir, my name is Nurse Molly. I'm going to be the nurse inserting your Foley right now. He's like, wait. What happened to the other nurse? She was supposed to be starting the Foley. I'm like, oh, no. She's helping me out with something while I help her out with something. And this just was a task that she asked me to help her out with. So you got me for today. I'm happy to help any way I can. Luckily for you, Foleys are my favorite task. I never miss, and I have a blast doing them all the time. The look on bro's face, he was so uncomfortable. He was like, actually, I think I prefer someone else. Well, I'm like, well, do you have a problem with me doing the Foley? He's like, no, not necessarily. That's not the problem, because I know you're capable. But I stopped him right there. I was like, listen, I am definitely capable, and trust me, I can't miss. There's only one hole. I can't miss. I was like, bro, I have 100% success rate with male Foley catheters. You're in great hands. Healing hands. The best hands. Bro was so uncomfortable. It was not even funny. And this whole time, I'm just trying to hold my cool. And I put that Foley catheter in. I mean, I glazed that joint in the lube. I'm like, okay, sir, lots of pressure, but don't worry. Again, healing hands, sir. Healing hands. Whole time, bro, looking at me, and I got the biggest smile on my face. I was like, hey, you said you wanted somebody to do it with a smile? I'm a happy camper. Happy to be here. Happy to be here with the Foley. The way I was so descriptive about everything I was doing with that Foley, man, it was insane. You would have thought I could have wrote a Grey's Anatomy book. I was like, don't worry, when I slide in the catheter inside of the urethra, you will feel a lot of pressure, but it's only gonna last for just a little bit, okay? Just make sure you breathe, take very deep breaths, try not to panic, okay? Because I got you. I got you. See the smile? Bro's like, why is it taking so long? It's not supposed to take this long. And I'm like, oh, my bad, sir. Like, I'm just trying to take my time to make sure that you feel as little pain and as little pressure as possible. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, can we hurry this up a little bit? I'm starting to get a little weird. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, sir, but it's definitely my privilege to help out. Anyway, make a long story short, I wrap up the Foley, throw everything away, and I'm walking out the room, and I'm like, bye, sir, have a nice afternoon. It was definitely my honor to help you out. My coworker walks back in the room a few minutes later to make rounds on him just to see how he's doing, see if he's doing all right. And she comes back out, and she's like, yo, Molly, what the hell did you do? I'm like, what you talking about? She's like, yo, he was like, I don't want that guy with the braids to come back in my room ever again. And she was like, what happened? He was like, he was so weird about the Foley. She said he looked like he had seen a ghost. And I was like, hey, all I did was do it with a smile. I enjoyed every second of it. Don't come to the ER on some bullshit thinking you're gonna fuck with my coworkers. I'm gonna fuck with you too. Don't do it. If you wanna be a creep in your own little space, in your own little area. Don't bring that shit to the workplace, for real. You gonna be a creep at the workplace, we got something for you. His name is Nurse Molly.
Every time I share this story, it literally leaves people speechless. My name's Sydney. I was an ER nurse for 10 years. I've got some crazy stories. This one right here is one of the craziest. For HIPAA, we're leaving out patient details, names, locations, things like that. But let's get into it. This woman came in because she was in a car wreck and she broke her leg and was also having abdominal pain. Because she was having abdominal pain, we had to get a urine specimen just to make sure there was no bleeding in the bladder or anything like that. Because her leg's broke and she can't get to the bathroom, I bring in a bedpan, sit her on the bedpan, and she's like, I'm not gonna be able to pee on this. I was like, okay, let me go tell the doctor. I told the doctor, and the doctor was like, no, we really need this urine specimen. Like, if she's not able to pee on a bedpan, then we're gonna have to do a catheter. I bring in the catheter, and of course, she's really nervous about getting the catheter. But after I explained to her how important this is, she's like, okay, fine. We lay her back. I bring in a couple nurses just to help spread her legs apart. And when I go down to do the catheter, I notice this like plastic coming out from there. Look at the other nurse across from me. I'm like, do you see this? I'm like, ma'am, you have like some plastic coming out of there? And immediately she's like, no, don't pull it out. I'm like, ma'am, we have to get this, like, whatever this little plastic is out of you. So I pull it out, and I don't know what TikTok's gonna flag, but it is a bag of what rhymes with lo mein. Y'all, I'm not talking about a little bag of lo mein. I am talking a giant bag. As soon as I pull it out, she's like freaking out. She reaches down and pulls the other side of it, and it busts the bag open. And now there's just lo mein flying everywhere. It's like a blizzard of lo mein. So of course we have to call the cops. They have to come dispose of all the remnants properly or whatever. But I guess what happened is when she got in this car wreck and the police came, she was like, I don't want them finding my stash. And she just put it up there. Oh, I literally couldn't make this stuff up. But if you want more stories like this, I share some of my ER stories here and there, so just follow along.
About a decade ago, I was working in triage in the emergency department, and there was a police officer who came inside and said, hey, can you come outside for a second? He's like, there's a guy out here who said that there's something wrong with the guy in his car. This is very common for people to come get us to go outside and help them get somebody out of the car. So there's a car that's pulled up under the canopy, and I don't see anyone in the car. But the guy that got the police officer to come get me is like really nervous looking. I was like, hey, I don't see anybody. And he's like pointing to the back seat. This part replays over in my mind a lot. So I open the door and I see a man face down in the bottom part of the back seat. At this point, it's just me and the police officer out there. So I yell at him to go get help. And I, with all the strength in my body, roll this man who's probably 190 onto his back, onto the back seat. Trigger warning for scary stuff that kept me up at night for a while. 3, 2, 1, okay. As I roll him over, his eyes are wide open and looking straight ahead, and he is gone. But I don't know how recently gone. So he's still warm, so I straddle him in the back seat and start doing chest compressions. We had radios back then, so like earpieces with a radio, kind of like at McDonald's, except minus this part. It was like on our shirt, so you could like press the button and talk, but it wouldn't let you talk over somebody else if they were already talking. So in my ear, I'm hearing like, room 17 needs pain medicine. Can room 4 have a visitor? And I can't talk on the thing. So finally, I'm like one-handed chest compression while I'm saying, please get me a stretcher out here. I'm doing compressions in the parking lot. So eventually a stretcher comes and I'm trying to get out of the way while they pull him out. And in doing so, I think I got like lost in the mix because they pulled him out over top of me on the stretcher. So I get out from under him and I just roll over on top of him and keep doing the chest compressions while we go inside. The police officer is trying to get the story from whoever dropped him off. And the story is that he doesn't know this guy. This guy was just in need of a ride, and he had no idea who he was, and just was a good Samaritan and brought him in. But what he didn't know was that the police officer had been watching this dude circling the parking lot for the last 20 minutes. And before he came in, he threw away a Walmart bag of trash in the trash can outside of the emergency room. Inside the bag was paraphernalia and Narcan, already open, ready to go. That guy didn't make it. And so when his mom finally came, oh gosh, she said that they had plans to go to lunch because he had agreed to go to rehab after lunch. And she guesses that he just wanted to get high just one more time. So after all was said and done, I talked to obviously the friend guy that had dropped him off. And I said, why didn't you give that Narcan? Why? And he said, I didn't know if I should. If you are ever in a situation where someone has taken some sort of opiate and you have Narcan available to you, if you think, should I give Narcan? The answer is yes. If it crosses your brain that maybe you should, give it. That whole situation, doing CPR by myself in a car, the helplessness of it, the getting pulled under him, like seeing his face, his mom, all of that stays with me. I can still see it all.
You guys aren't gonna believe this shit. So, if you've been following me for a while, you have seen the videos I posted about my traumatic birth story. And the last video in that series, I ended up putting it on private because so many people were like, they don't let male doctors be alone with a female patient and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I wasn't going to pursue charges or anything because I just wanted to put all of it behind me. I did not want to think about everything that I went through. But I just got a letter in the mail saying that the doctor that was in my chart has multiple reports of sexual assault and misconduct and is under investigation, and they gave me phone numbers to call. So I'm going to tell the story again. Trigger warning, sexual assault and traumatic birth, I guess. Yeah. So I had just given birth to Moxie. It's almost 4 years ago now. And she was too big and she got stuck in me, shoulder dystocia. And pulling her out of me, they ended up giving me a third, almost fourth degree tear. So once she was born, they immediately took her to the NICU, and then I went into the operating room to get stitched up. Now, while I was in the operating room, my epidural wore off, so I could feel everything that they were doing to me, like stitching me up and stuff, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want them to put me under, because, again, my daughter was in the NICU, and I wanted to be aware of, like, any decisions or anything going on with her. Like, I wanted to be with it, right? So I just endured the pain. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't fine, but it was whatever, you know? Like, I've already made it this far. I've been in enough pain. I can deal with another hour or so. So, after they finished doing all that, all of the doctors and nurses, everyone leaves the room except for one man. And they have this curtain up, so I can't see what they're doing, but I could feel everything he did to me. He probably didn't know that because, again, I didn't say anything, but I felt everything he did to me. So I was sexually assaulted like an hour after I gave birth, so. I guess I'm gonna be calling the Department of War tomorrow. Get the War Department on the fucking phone.
What you're about to hear isn't rare. It's disturbing, and it's happening more and more across the country. In New Mexico, a woman named Danella Gallegos was rushed to the hospital and declared beyond saving. Because she was listed as an organ donor, they began prepping her for organ removal. But right before it happened, she started blinking. She was crying. Her family swears she was responding. The transplant coordinator called it a reflex and suggested giving her morphine to keep her still. The hospital refused. Danella made a full recovery. Now here's the part that'll chill you. The same playbook showed up in Alabama. Misty Hawkins choked on a peanut butter sandwich, and her brain was oxygen deprived, and doctors said she'd never breathe on her own again. And after life support was pulled, her heart was still beating, and some staff saw her gasping. Again, The transplant rep reportedly pushed for morphine to quiet the body and proceed. She survived too. And these aren't isolated cases. Federal records show 103 donation attempts were started before the patient was legally dead. 28 of them may have involved people who were still alive. And 55 medical professionals across 19 states have come forward about similar incidents. Now, here's the part that almost nobody talks about. In most states, when you check your organ donor box on your driver's license, it becomes a binding legal consent. And that means your spouse or your parents or your family, they lose the right to object, even if they believe there's still hope. Now, let me be clear. This is not an anti-organ donation video. I 100% believe in it. It definitely saves lives. But I also believe in informed consent and in keeping families involved in life and death decisions. Whether you choose to be an organ donor or not, that choice should be yours, just like everything else about your body should be yours, if you know what I mean.
Security runs in. They're like, hey, I think we have a homeboy drop-off in the ambulance bay. And a homeboy drop-off is typically gang members don't want to check in and give their name because they're gang members. And what they do is they have a injured, I don't know, friend. Homie. Mm-hmm. They just kick them out of the car, whether they're stabbed, beat up, shot. They just kick them out of the car into the ambulance bay. And then we run out and we grab them and do our thing. Homie drop-off, right? Makes sense. And security runs in, like, hey, we think we have a homie drop-off, etc. So I'm free. I don't have an assignment, so I can just go. I get outside to the ambulance bay, and all I see is this blue car, older model, and it is just riddled with bullets. The windows are all shot out. I'm like, oh, like shit, this is like legit. Rule 1 of emergency medicine is you take a quick pause and you look around, make sure it's safe for you to approach the situation. So quick pause, look around. I see one kid standing outside of the car on his phone. And I'm like, okay, he's covered in blood, but he's standing, he's talking. Not priority right now. I look in the back seat. I see a very animated, what looks like a female, and someone that's not moving. So I'm like, bingo, that's my priority. Swing the car door open, and all I see is a kid hunched over. His girlfriend or whoever is freaking out. And he has, it's called agonal respirations, which is, it's end of death breathing. It sounds like basically the body trying to get any air into its vital organs. And then I'm like, oh, okay, not good. I pull out my pen light to assess, see if there's any glass so I don't hurt myself. And all I see is brain matter just all over the car. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. I grab the kid. At this point, my colleagues have a gurney coming. I place this kid on the gurney. And then I'm like, okay, go. And then now my attention's on this other kid. And I look at him once again, get my pen light, shine it, covered in just blood. And I'm like, hey man, are you shot? Are you hurt? And then he's like, I don't know. And then I look at him closer and he has bullet holes. He's wearing like a long sleeve black sweater and he just has bullet holes all over his sweater. And I'm just like, oh no. And then he's pale as a ghost. He faints. Luckily, I scoop him up, and I can't yell out gurney because they just brought it. So I just carry him to inside the emergency department, put him on the bed, and any trauma, we strip off the clothes, etc. At this point, the initial kid that I pulled out of the car, he's now intubated. Fluids are running. My colleagues are trying to stabilize him with one of the doctors, Dr. Villacorta, amazing physician. Luckily, he was there that night. Charge nurse is on the phone with a level 1 trauma hospital because we are not saying like you have a patient coming in and I'm like, hey, well, you have 2 patients now coming in. Now we have 2 ambulances en route to us to take these people to this trauma center. Luckily, the patient I was working with, he was only shot in the shoulder and arm multiple times. Few inches, it was his left arm. So a few more inches to the right, he would have been his heart, but he got very lucky. I stabilized him, gave him pain medicine, gave him like anti-nausea medicine, gave him some fluids. He was fine. The other kid we didn't find out until later. Unfortunately, he did not make it. And
that was the brain.
Yeah. And so the reason that story stands out to me the most is we see gunshot wounds all the time. We see all of this occurring, all this gang violence occurring all the time. 20 minutes later, I'm standing around at the nurse's station. We're all debriefing a little bit. And I wear this jacket at work and I have inside pockets. On the right side, I always have a trauma tourniquet and IV start supplies. And the left side is always like gum, snacks, because we never know when we're going to eat. And so I'm like, I want a piece of gum. I like to chew gum. And so I reach into my pocket and I feel something squishy. and I pull it out, and I'm holding a piece of this kid's brain in my hand, about that big.
Why was it in your pocket?
When I pulled him out, it must have fallen in.
It fell in your pocket.
Yeah. And I'm just like, how is this my job? Like, how is this what I do for a living? Because now I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, I put a biohazard bag, send it off to lab, it's now evidence. But
I just learned that if you ever have to call the paramedics or the police on someone that is overdosing, don't tell them that they're overdosing until they get there, okay? Just say that they stopped breathing. Because if you live in a black or brown neighborhood, or like even if your name sounds too ethnic, they're less likely to pull up before an OD. They will take their sweet time, and that person will fuck around and lose their life because of medical racism. So what you do is just say they stopped breathing. They have to pull up for respiratory issues. They have to. Cardiac issues, they have to pull up for that. But an overdose, they're less likely to show up for that, which is so fucked up. But there are facts supporting this. So if you want to save a life, just say that they stopped breathing.